Hey, Dr. Mike here. So you want to live forever-ish? Well, then you got to know what's in and what's not. Stay tuned to find out.
You're listening to Live Foreverish, a show dedicated to helping you live just a little longer. Here's your hosts, Dr. Mike and Dr. Crystal Gastric.
All right, welcome to Live Forever-ish, the ins and outs of living forever-ish, and it's going to help you achieve our new tagline. Dr. Crystal, would you like to let them know what our tagline is?
Sure, living a little bit longer and a whole lot stronger.
Yeah. And of course, stronger can mean a lot of different things, functional things as you get older.
Strong mentally, strong physically.
Yeah, I like it.
Strong spiritually.
It covers it.
Yes.
It covers it all. So that's really good. So the ins and outs, 3 things you want to do, and then 1 thing you don't want to do or avoid. So let's start with the first in. It's kind of surprising, just right off the get-go. Maple syrup. Let's talk about maple syrup.
Well, compared to high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah. So we're talking about real maple syrup.
We are.
You put that thing in the tree and it drips. Yeah.
Oh, yes.
All right, tell us about this crossover trial.
Yeah, we like maple syrup, and in this research, this was published in October 2024 as a randomized, double-blind, controlled crossover trial. The objectives the researchers were hoping to identify or to determine whether replacing refined sugars with an equivalent quantity of maple syrup, if it could decrease key cardiometabolic risk factors in individuals with mild metabolic alterations.
I love this setup. I think this is a great question to add. These are the kind of things we need to start asking, because if we're telling people to avoid refined sugars, we like sweet things. So what are other things we can do, right? I love this.
Well, we've done this, and we've talked about this before. Our sugar substitute show.
Yeah, it's good.
And we talked about all of the different options that you have available to try to kind of decrease your overall refined sugar consumption, because we know it is out of control.
So participants were instructed to substitute 5% of their total caloric intake provided by added sugars with either maple syrup and artificially flavored sucrose syrup, right? This was a 8-week intervention period. This is what we call crossover. So they were on maple syrup and then they crossed over, right?
Yep. So, they had a 4-week washout period with nothing, and then they crossed over.
And then they cross over to the next one.
Other.
Great type of study design. You become your own little control, right? And these were 42 overweight people in both these phases. So what did we find?
Yeah, so we found a significant reduction in overall glucose level. We call that glucose area under the curve. Like over time, the glucose levels were lower, and this was during the glucose tolerance test, and that's with substituting the refined sugars, and also significantly reduced fat mass and systolic blood pressure. And so those are great outcomes. There were also changes in cardiometabolic risk factors, and they relate those changes to a shift in the composition of the beneficial gut microbes.
See, a lot of it always comes back to the gut microbes, doesn't it?
Well, yes. And so the question is, what makes maple syrup so different?
Yeah, I would have to just assume, you must have more polyphenols, more just micronutrient, right? I mean, it must just be
all of the above.
Yeah.
It's unrefined, so you're getting more micronutrients, polyphenols, organic acids, and that has to be it, because the sugar is primarily sucrose that you find in maple syrup, but you're getting some of those other beneficial components. And we've always known, and that's kind of what prompted the researchers to conduct this research. There's a growing body of scientific evidence that not all sugars have the same metabolic effects. So some people will say sugar is sugar is sugar. But I beg to differ, and I like to see this study. All we buy is maple syrup.
Yeah.
We do not use, and it's good. It's a little pricey, but
it's a little pricey.
that's all we have.
Yeah,
I make my special pumpkin bread for my husband with maple syrup
that sounds
only.
so good.
And it's really good, and
Sounds
now
so
good and good for you.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. But I get, again, this is substituting. It's not saying make maple syrup like don't start increasing it. Like you're substituting it.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where I think the benefit comes from. Interesting. It says here. So I don't know. A lot of people know this, right? They literally tap the trees. Like they put a tap
like
in the
how
tree.
they make the
Yes,
how
have
they
you ever seen that?
it?
Yes, and it just drips slowly into
Yeah.
these buckets. Have you ever seen that? It's really cool.
I've seen it. Mm-hmm.
And apparently, as it does that, and it sits in the bucket, it starts to evaporate, and it's even creating some newer compounds out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And these are really beneficial for you. One is called, let me see if I can get this right. Cabecol.
Mm-hmm.
Cabecol.
Quebecol.
Apparently, it's a new compound, and it's good for you.
Yeah.
And then also you got your inulin, which we know is a prebiotic fiber. So this is fantastic. Love it.
Yeah. So a nice little health hack.
How come you haven't brought me a piece of your pumpkin bread?
Oh, because it doesn't last long.
You've known me for how many holiday
I didn't know you
seasons?
like pumpkin bread.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, now I know.
Because I can't eat banana bread.
Oh, okay.
So
I make a good pumpkin bread. And maybe we can, maybe we'll do a live show and I'll demo it's whole wheat flour, like 100% whole wheat flour. I use maple syrup. It has lots of healthy substitutes. And it is really good. I don't eat pumpkin bread. I make it for my family.
I'm going to put butter on it.
Well, as long as it's grass-fed butter. In moderation.
I'm going to add some butter to it. All right. Anyways, I would love to try it. Let's go on to in number 2. Love this. This is omega-3s. We already know that's a big in omega-3s, right?
Yeah.
But specifically, we're talking about these omega-3s for depression.
Yeah. And even more specifically, to drill it down, major depressive disorder.
Yeah.
Individuals with major depressive disorder.
That's true depression.
Yeah. Who are unresponsive to standard antidepressants often exhibit a lower level of omega-3 fats than healthy individuals. So, it's good to kind of say, okay, let's see if omega-3 supplementation can improve.
Yeah, so they looked at red blood cell omega-3 levels, and that's kind of we've known that about magnesium as an example, that's a great way to actually get a true status.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I thought blood levels of omega-3s were pretty stable and pretty good to go with, but they went with red blood cell levels. I'm not familiar if that's better or not than blood. I don't know if you have any input there, but that's what they did. You do?
Yes. Yeah. That's kind of how you want to measure the omega-3s.
It's like the magnesium. It's good. It's the best way to do it. Okay. And so they looked at depression severity. It was rated at enrollment and every 2 weeks thereafter. Tell us what happened in the group receiving the omega-3.
Yeah, so first let's go to how much they received. It was a big dose, which I love. The researchers did it right.
Well, I don't think
3.2 grams of EPA and 3.2 grams of omega-3s. EPA was 2.1 grams, DHA 1.1 grams. That's a nice
I think that's
dose
a great
for
dose.
A clinical trial.
Yeah,
I would say that.
Yeah, because I actually do a little more than that.
Yes, and so this was 12 weeks. So in the group that received the omega-3, we saw that those omega-3s were absorbed. They got where we wanted them to go, and those red blood cells that were significantly higher. The omega-3 content in the red blood cells significantly higher at the end of the study compared to the levels measured at enrollment. And so now we see the blood levels increasing as well as depression severity decreasing. And this started at 4 weeks. 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
I love
10 weeks.
I think you're right on. I think you're spot on with this. The methodology is really good here, and it's that dose that's important.
Yeah, because sometimes you see these studies, Dr. Mike, and one, they use a low dose, And then they say omega-3s don't work.
Yeah.
Or
and they use like 500 milligrams of total, right? Yeah.
Or they may not be testing to see if levels
did things
increase,
actually go up?
right?
Yeah,
So I think
great.
it was a great layout.
All right, so that was in number 2. Omega-3s specifically here about depression. All right, let's move on to in number 3 for living a little longer but a whole lot stronger. Yeah, that's how I'm going to say it for
The
now.
growl on your voice,
I'm going to
Dr.
say it
Mike,
like that
is
for now.
so
Robson, you guys had a thumbs up?
extreme.
Living a little
Very
longer
dramatic.
but a whole lot stronger. All right, this is another one that love these 2 ingredients. But I'm curious to see kind of why we're focused on it here. Hibiscus and lemon verbena. Now, hibiscus, I think a lot of people already know about, right? Lemon verbena. I don't know. That might be a new one for people. You want to start there? Like, what is lemon verbena? Is it just a type of lemon? Is that all we need to know?
No, it's an herb. It's if I remember correctly, I believe it's in the mint family, but don't quote me. We've got some fact checkers, so you can fact check me and get me straight in the comments.
And we also have fact. We can also provide that if we need to, right? Yeah.
But yes, these are 2 herbs, and they have previously, we've reported on this on many occasions, shown to provide a weight management benefit. But this is newer research, so we're going to keep reporting if there's new research coming out. Also, what's unique about this study is the dose is a little lower than what we've typically reported on. So it's a newer study at a lower dose, and just confirming some things that we've already known. And so we're just bringing to you some hot off the press.
Yeah. I think what's important here too, the dose may be a little lower, but it's standardized appropriately. Remember, that's a key thing that we'd like to look at, because again, let's just take like hibiscus just as an example, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a bunch of compounds in hibiscus. And so the standardization is simply just saying out of all those compounds that are in hibiscus, what are the key ones that we want to make sure are at a good level, because those are the ones that seem to be giving us the benefit.
Yes.
That's standardization in a
absolutely.
nutshell.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. 61 overweight men and women around 42 years old. They were put on this blend, 12 weeks. What did we find?
Well, there were, just to kind of go over what the researchers were evaluating, satiety tests.
Yep.
So looking at desire to eat, hunger, fullness, prospective food consumption. To me, that reminds me of that food noise show that we posted the end of December 2024. So you can check that out. It's kind of thinking about that next
like constantly.
Yes.
Like you're eating breakfast and you're literally, what's for lunch? And then you're eating lunch and it's like, what's for dinner? Right. Yeah.
So they also looked at triglycerides, cholesterol, glucose, blood pressure, and of course, body composition. They checked everything in this study. I mean, they were doing the bioimpedance, waist to hip ratio,
that's
BMI.
That's the big one.
They even did bone density, which I thought was really nice. So that's a way you find this, like DEXA is used to identify fat mass. So it's a more advanced way to identify body composition in an individual.
Maybe we'll start seeing that more in some of these kind of studies.
Maybe so. So just our results induce greater satiety post-meal versus placebo, based on a couple of the survey questions. There was statistically significant decreases in body weight, about 6 pounds after 90 days, which, that's not bad. We talk about that.
It's not. I mean, we have to, Dr. Crystal, in our culture, it's everything fast. Now. Mm-hmm. I need that 10 pounds by the first week, whatever. But that's not sustainable. Those things don't work. This is nice. This is good. Simple blend, giving you a nice result. Take some time. Yeah. This is good.
Yes. And then that DEXA scan confirmed that there were no changes in muscle So no muscle
See,
loss,
big, that's huge.
bone loss,
Yeah. Well,
or even water mass.
you could make an argument that might be because this is nice, slow, sustainable. You're not
Right.
overwhelming your system. We've said this before. The body is very resilient if
Mhm.
you give it time,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. If you're hitting the body hard and fast, you might see some results, but you're gonna have a whole host of side effects.
Yeah, I think about, well, I was going to go on a tangent, but I think about my piano and how the strings
I love
are
it.
tuned, right? But
Yeah.
you can't, if you haven't had your piano strings tuned in a long time, you can stretch them, tune them, but they are going to kind of go back to where they were.
Yeah.
So you have to
little by
slowly
little, yeah.
stretch, every 6 months or
I
so.
like it.
Yeah.
So there you go. There is hibiscus and lemon verbena for pretty nice overall body composition improvement.
Yep.
I like that. All right. So those are the 3 N's, right? Those support our new tagline. Now we're going to go into the thing that doesn't. And I think this is kind of interesting too, because all of a sudden we've been talking about salt a lot.
We have. Now, this is what caught my eye on this one, Dr. Mike, is the researchers evaluated salt added to food at the table.
Oh gosh. Okay. Let
The
me tell
salt
you.
shakers.
Oh, you got listen.
Shake it like a salt shaker.
I don't know if this is as common as it used to be, but salt shakers on the tables at homes, restaurants was the norm. It was normal for people. I'll never forget. My dad would salt a salt stick.
Well, and many people salt before they even taste
Yes,
it.
that first thing my dad would do, he'd grab that salt and pepper. I mean, right, but that was normal. I remember our table right in the middle. We didn't have a beautiful little table. We had salt, pepper right in the middle. That was so normal, but I think that's changing a little bit. I don't see that much. Like you have to ask for a salt shaker in restaurants now.
Sometimes. It all depends.
Where you're at, I guess.
Right. But so the other thing with the salt is its relationship to risk of gastric cancer.
So this
it's
was specific. Yeah, this
yeah.
is specific to a very hard to treat cancer.
Right. So the researchers used data from a large population-based study of UK adults, and salt use was obtained. There was a survey question: do you add salt to your food? And then gastric cancer status was obtained just looking at national cancer registries, and over a 10.9 year follow-up, there were certain instances or incidents of gastric cancer. And participants reporting always on that question, do you add salt to your food? If they say
like it's normal, of course.
Always, because
Yes.
there's like the sometimes, occasionally, like if you look at a survey and they give you all the options.
My dad's response would be, of course. Why are you asking me this question?
Right. So participants reporting always adding salt had a 41% greater risk of developing gastric cancer
41%.
than
Wow.
those who never and or rarely added salt. And this data, when you kind of look at these population studies, they have to adjust for certain things. So they adjust it for lifestyle, socioeconomic, demographics. Like they adjust it for all of these factors that.
And they still came out with this result.
And they still came out with the salt being the culprit.
It's interesting. So the salt, they're saying here that it may disrupt the stomach mucosa, making it more susceptible to H. pylori, which is the bug with GERDs and reflux. And that's what's driving the risk maybe for the cancer.
Potentially, yeah.
Well, we do know people with untreated GERDs, especially the severe cases, have an increased risk of at least esophageal cancer.
Mm-hmm.
So now they're linking it a little lower in the gut. The stomach now.
Yeah.
I got to tell you,
so watch that salt shaker.
I don't do that. I don't think I ever add salt to my food. It's rare. If I do, it's rare.
But not often.
Sometimes now that I think that, I do, like if I get nacho chips or something sometimes I add some salt to those. I need some salt. But I don't, because I cook a lot, so I kind of already know my salt
Yeah,
content and stuff.
yeah.
So, all right. Anyways, this is fantastic. Just don't put the salt shaker on the table. So if you really want it, you got to get up and go grab it, walk back and do it. Listen, that's going to prevent a lot of adding salt to your right, because people just want to dig in. They're hungry.
Yep.
All right, this is great. Ins and outs of living forever-ish. A little bit. Let's see if you can do it deeper, like a little bit longer, but a whole lot stronger.
A whole lot stronger.
I love
That's
this.
how Dr. Mike's doing it.
I love it. All right. Hey, you can go to liveforeverish.com. There's a bunch of episodes there. You can download, like, and share, and of course, subscribe so you never miss a show. And then our sponsor, Life Extension. Go over there and use the discount code podcast. And you'll get 10% off $50 or more plus free shipping and handling, just to say thank you. Podcast. Very simple. Get a little discount. We like that. I'm Dr. Mike. That's
Dr. Crystal.
Thanks for listening.